But first things first, the dollar. So we did see a bit of downside yesterday on the stream. Things were looking a little bit bearish. I wasn't really convinced about a long-term move just yet for the dollar. I'm still looking at a bit more retracement. I have spoken about a couple of areas where I'm looking for price to retrace into. It has, in fairness, retraced into this level here at 104.5. And perhaps we can see some downside from that area. I'm also looking at 105.5, which is this low over here. Really nice support, beautiful move to the upside. And it lines up pretty well with the 0.5 and the 0.618 of the fib from that swing high to that swing low. As you can see, kind of comfortably in that zone there. So preferably, I would like dollar to retrace there. And that's kind of still what I'm expecting dollar to do. Retrace into this area here roughly, maybe a little bit deeper, but more so around here before potentially you see a continuation of that bearish momentum we had a couple of weeks back. Looking at the lower time frames, I'm still kind of getting this bowl-shaped pattern. However, we are lacking momentum at the high here, so I wonder if price potentially is getting ready for a bit of a move to the downside. But there is still very strong support here. So for the dollar, I'm kind of looking at to push even potentially back into support down here before we do push back to the upside. Yesterday we had that momentum. We kind of came back into this area a little bit, found support, but we're still struggling to break the highs there. So I wonder if the dollar is probably going to see a bit of weakness unless something happens. We do have a bit of news this afternoon. Yeah, it's going to take some energy for us to break through the high. We might kind of just roll over a little bit. But overall, I'm still looking at that correction. I do think there could be a really large move to the downside for the dollar longer term, basically the continuation of that momentum, but I'm not quite ready to be shorting dollar yet. Based on how price is moving, it's very, very rounded. If it was a straight impulse, then we start to have a bit of a correction afterwards, that would look a lot more appealing to trade. But the fact is we kind of had a corrective move down, kind of consolidated a little bit and corrected moving up. It's not really giving me much confidence to be jumping into any sort of trade here with the dollar at the moment. So yeah, backing away at the moment. Yes, we're struggling at resistance. Perhaps could be getting ready for a bit of a sell. I'm still looking at 105.5 for the shorts, and yeah, still expecting a bit of upside for us, of course, to get there. Euro USD, we are at support as well. It's kind of the inverse of the dollar. We're coming back into this area here on the left. And it looks like price is finding support there, as we can see. And again, we're seeing some rejection. Nothing crazy. We're seeing some bullish candles coming to the market, but overall, things are still looking pretty corrective. If I whip out the channel tool here, you can see price is kind of descending here. But in this kind of descending structure, you do normally expect price to give us a push to the upside. So I do think there might be a bit of a bounce there for euro. The fact that we have, we broke out of this corrective channel over here. We broke through that counter trend line. We didn't really see much momentum. Initially, we did. We had two really strong candles. But since then, the market's been very, very corrective on its way down. So it doesn't give me too much confidence about a move like this. It might happen, but we probably will push to the upside first before that move happens, if it is going to happen. So, yeah, not as convinced about price just kind of melting straight away, although we'll see what happens with the news later this afternoon. I think we might have a little bit of a push, and then we might see a sell later on, but I'm not really interested in that move just yet. In terms of Euro USD, I do like the areas down here, closer to 1.06, even this level here as well, which we broke through for lots of momentum, but unfortunately never came back for a retest. So if the market does come back to these prices, I would expect a pretty big bounce there for euro. But at the moment, trading into support, it does look like we might have a bit of a rally here. Based on the candlesticks we're seeing, price still finding support pretty well. So I do think we might see a bit of a push. But it's still a little bit too high up for me to buying euro, and of course, based on how we moved there as well. Pound USD, kind of the same situation as euro in terms of I'm not a big fan of just overall price action at the high here. My main takeaway is that pound USD is just looking very tired. I'm expecting a retracement. We've had a really lovely bullish move here. Now all of that kind of energy is kind of disappeared, and the market may be looking for a bit of a pullback. Pound was pretty bearish this morning as well. Of course, we don't have to have a pullback. The market can just consolidate and let fly again. If that's the case, that's the case. But I do want price to kind of come down to me first before I do look for any long opportunities. If I scoot back to the daily charts, these are the areas I'm looking at. So, of course, you've got the daily high there at 1.28. And you got this area here as well, which I really like at 1.27. We had a nice down move. Price breaks the upside for a lot of momentum. Again, didn't come back for a retest. So it's a fresh level of support for us to come back into, potentially bounce from. You can also look to the left then. You can see we are coming into some areas of supply where naturally we're seeing sellers enter the market, and we're seeing a bit of difficulty for the buyers to keep pushing price higher. So I do expect naturally a bit of a pullback there for pound. And if you can get back into 1.28, 1.27, those are the areas where I'll be comfortable to find some longs. And again, nothing crazy. I have talked about price potentially coming back to the swing high up there, but we can leave that discussion for another day. If we can return just back to that high, I think that'll be a solid trade. Let's say if we get a pullback, something like this, that can end up being a really nice swing opportunity back into 1.3-ish. So, pound USD, pretty bearish this morning, coming back into support. We'll see if we have the energy we needed to break through that. But I'm still waiting for price to come a little bit lower before I do look for any opportunities. In terms of dollar CAD, things are looking pretty bearish here. I think we're still seeing a bit of CAD strength as well. A little bit of USD weakness. We just had a look at the DXY, nothing crazy. So I think it's a bit more to do with CAD strength, but it looks like price is trying to break through support here, or has broken through support. And looks like we could be seeing a move back into the swing low here at 1.415. So pretty bearish in dollar CAD. Didn't look like we got the move to the upside I was hoping for. I said it would be nice if price can have another stab at 1.45, potentially look for that next entry and swing it back down. So because we're not getting that, the next best opportunity would be something like this and a retest of that area for some more shorts. We are very consistent with these lower highs so far. So the plan is basically looking for the next one, and hopefully on the retest of that level there would be nice. I still do have some lower targets for price to go and hit for dollar CAD, which is this big level here on the daily/weekly chart, just below 1.4. I do think in the longer term, there's a good chance we're coming back to retest that level there. So dollar CAD I'm pretty bearish on. It looks like we're breaking to the downside. Not the biggest breakout you will ever see, but it looks like price is clearing support. So if that momentum does continue, looking for a pullback, a retest of that same level, and some more downside would be the play there. So pretty bearish on dollar CAD, unless we suddenly have a big recovery of that level. So unless price shoots back above, I do think we're just going to keep falling there for dollar CAD. Aussie dollar. So this one has been a little bit bullish since we last spoke. Well, when did we last spoke? Was it here? Yeah, we might. Yeah, I think we had that candle there. Yeah. And price a bit of retracement, and now it's pushing back up again. So I'm going to look to see what Aussie dollar does around 0.63, just below 0.64. There's a big level here on the daily chart. I'm going to see what we do. If potentially we have another sell back into support, which is all the way back down here at 0.615, or even the low here. Doesn't have to be a crazy trade where you're trying to hit the home run every time. Even a push back to 0.62 would be a nice position, but I can see prices struggling a lot at the highs here. Altogether, Aussie dollar is pretty much ranging as well. There isn't really a trend at play. So if we do struggle and start to reject the high, there might be some nice sells on the way back down. If, of course, we do break shots to the upside, I will change my bias and start to discuss some long opportunities. But that is if we break the high here at 0.64. So we need to take out this high here for me to be bullish on Aussie dollar. Then pullbacks will look a lot better. If we reject resistance again, then naturally we probably will sell off again. And 0.62, 0.614 would be the areas I'm expecting price to push into. And the USD, pretty much the same analysis with this one as well. Still struggling at resistance here, which we rejected last week, especially with the weekly candle closure as well. So, didn't mean to do that. So looking to see what we can do at this swing low at 0.577. If price again has a successful rejection of that, again, there is a lot of room to the downside for us to maneuver into. We've got some key support down there. Again, over there as well, 0.56. That would be a healthy target. Even some of the lows here, don't have to always shoot for the big targets. Even a push into that area, depending on your risk reward and depending on your entry, could still be a really, really nice trade there. So, yeah, New Zealand dollar, Aussie dollar approaching some resistance. If we can break through them and take out their respective highs, then there is a lot of upside opportunity there as well. So something like that, a big break to the upside, I will look to try and follow that, especially now that this will be acting as support for us. Of course, if not, if we reject resistance, then there might be some nice selling opportunities. In terms of gold, still pretty bullish on gold. It looks like we're trying to break to the upside, but we're kind of fading at resistance here. So we need a bit of a kick. I said yesterday, if we can break through this counter trend line, there might be some nice upside. In fairness, there was, just we didn't see that momentum continue. We did have a nice breakout, but no successful candle closure. And again, this morning as well, we tried to break to the upside, but looks like this kind of area of supply is holding as resistance pretty well this morning. So with gold, I'm still pretty bullish, but we have to break through 30, 28, roughly 29, for us to really start talking about some gold buys. So if you're looking at gold and you're looking to long the pair, I'd wait for us to try and clear the zone here, because we've already done the job in terms of breaking the counter trend line. We had successive lower highs. The market was in a bit of a bearish trend here on the lower time frames. However, we've kind of broken through that, and now we're stuck at resistance. So if we can clear that level, that's the green light for gold to break higher and most likely approach back at the all-time highs, which is 30, 56, 57 roughly. So a break above that, either buying on the breakout or waiting for the retest, depending how you want to find your entries. A break of that high to me looks like a really nice bullish opportunity there for gold. And yeah, I would expect price to return back to the all-time highs and probably see some new ones. We still do have 3,100, which is the next big psychological level for gold. That could be the next big target for us. But yeah, zooming out to the higher time frames, things still look pretty bullish. It's still quite corrective on the way down, which tells me that this is most likely a pullback for gold. Of course, taking into consideration all that momentum on the left. So naturally, I do think price will push higher. But yeah, that resistance is pretty critical on the lower time frames. If we can manage to break through that, you're looking at a pretty bullish gold. And silver, I did manage to hop into a long position for this one. I actually entered on the 8-hour time frame, a time frame which I don't normally take entries on, but because it didn't look like price was going to come back and test 32.5, which was the daily level I wanted price to hit. I was looking at the reference of the high here on the left, and price really sat nicely on this level. Nice, really exaggerated wick to the downside and a really comfortable close on the 8-hour chart. My goal is a push back to 35 roughly, which is just slightly above the high here. Again, I naturally have a pretty bullish bias with gold, and looking at their correlation, if gold's going to keep pushing, then silver likely will do the same, and even vice versa as well. But yeah, the way I see it, that silver is still a very, very bullish market. The odds of us pushing back to the swing high here are pretty high. And the fact that we have clear resistance here as well does kind of give me the green light to be looking to buy silver. I was just originally hoping us to get that retest at that level. Unfortunately, we didn't quite get that. But fortunately, I managed to find another re-entry for that. So we'll see how this position goes. We do have this high here to contend with. I'll probably start to manage the trade if we can see some momentum breaking that in terms of trading stops to break even and letting the market do its thing. But yeah, very, very bullish on silver. It looks like a comfortable break and retest of that level. I really, really like the entry as well. So yeah, going to see if momentum can sustain and a push back to highs.